everyone. Today we're discussing Baccarat Hotel and Residences Dubai, a Shamal Holding and Starwood's vision to bring French luxury heritage brand to the city, and what it signals for the global rise needs for branded residences. Joining me are Sudhin Siva, who is the Chief Asset Management Officer at Shamal Holding, and Toni Stoeckl, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Starwood Hotel. Sudhin plays a pivotal role in the wide portfolio of Shamal, including real estate, hospitality, leisure, and strategic investments. Whereas Toni is a global brand builder who's recognized for telling some influential stories when it comes to luxury and lifestyle. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So before we kickstart this interview, the first thing I want you guys to tell me, the very first word that comes to your head when I say branded residences.
When I see branded residences, it's not, and I think we were talking about this before, it's not just about branding, the identity of that particular brand on a building. I think it's the depth, it's the philosophy, it's the energy, the service levels, everything that comes with the brand and the heritage of the brand that goes into that particular development, that goes into how that experience of that brand is delivered. That, in my opinion, is really branded residences. I think in the space that we are talking about today, a lot of people experience this when they go and stay at hotels, and that brand philosophy comes to life in hotels. I think those are for short-term stays. What we're trying to do is bring that more to the lifestyle and to the home of every individual. That's what I think true branded residences mean.
Okay.
I will go with what Sudhin said.
Okay.
I mean, look, it is exactly that. It is about creating an immersive lifestyle that is aspirational, but it is something you can really feel both long-term and short-term, both in private and in public settings, particularly for a project like this, being able to enjoy that both, right? You bring a little bit of a lifestyle into your residence, and that makes it really, really immersive. It's not just the logo, it is not just the name, but it actually says something about making an emotional connection. So that is really key for any project of a successful nature is how do you make it feel something, make them feel something when they're at home or when they're enjoying the facilities of a branded residence beyond that logo.
It's the emotion at the end of the day, I feel. Okay, Sudhin, when, from the viewer's point of view, when they're getting to know Shamal, how would you place their approach of long-term investment when you're creating something which is just extraordinary?
We are quite diversified. We're a diversified investment firm, so we obviously invest in numerous sectors. But even though it's diversified, our philosophy of creating enduring experiences, that's really the crux of it, right? The way we do things is very reflective of Dubai's bold ambition, that energy, right? And that sort of relentless energy that comes with it. And we reflect that in everything that we do. So when it comes to experiences and developments in general, it's not just about us developing something and that comes to the end of it, right? I think our part, or the part that we play, is from the onset through the process of development, understanding the end user, understanding the customer, and then ensuring that that longevity that they were promised remains, and we are in it through that whole journey. So when it comes to investments, we are an investment holding firm, but at the end of the day, we really are curators of experiences as well. So that's how I would term Shamal Holding.
Toni, from your experience, can you tell me what is that one big misconception that people have when it comes to branded residences, and what is that different element Starwood brings to this entire misconception and bringing that clearing out?
I think the misconception is that it is just a logo on the building in many ways, right? And that you essentially just figure out a way to maximize the value short term. But for us to actually put in, partner with a wonderful group like Shamal is to make sure that there's a connectivity deeply in the experience of the branded residence as well as the hotel. And you talked about the history and the long-term value. A brand like Baccarat doesn't stick around for 260 years if it doesn't find a way to constantly reinvent itself and then constantly part of the zeitgeist. No matter how classic and traditional the chandelier might be, it is ever present. Right, it's ever present underneath the celebration that happened underneath that chandelier on the dining table, or the sad moments, the happy moments, the joyful celebration, or the business meetings. There is life happening underneath, right? That brand experience. So for me, it is important to convey that, when people think, oh, they're just going to put a name on top of the building, we want to go a lot deeper than that and really make it super immersive, as I said a little bit earlier.
And when we talk about immersive experiences, this entire collaboration that Shamal and Starwood has had, were there any particular situations where you both the parties came together and they were like, no, this is what we feel, and that made this marriage very powerful, and they were like, were there any highlights or something like that you can, share with us?
To echo part of what Toni was talking about, I think Starwood's taken the Baccarat brand and its 260 years of heritage and has wonderfully brought that out in the hospitality space, and they continue to do that. That's obviously because of the experience, that this group has, and through the journey, I don't think we've ever disagreed, the approach from the onset with everyone in Starwood. It's been such a good relationship, and the collaboration is just exceptional. And I'm not just saying that because Tony's sitting here, but it has been truly, very collaborative. I think the thinking is very much aligned. Again, with Starwood and the Baccarat brand, it's all about craftsmanship at the end of the day, and crafting experiences. And I think because we are also of a very similar philosophy, the thinking was always aligned. And I think together, what we are developing now will truly sort of bring that to life. So I think it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm sure this is going to continue that way. In perpetuity.
Yeah, I mean, look, from the moment we signed the agreement to sort of kick off the relationship, you have an instant connection. And I think for any of our partners, it's important that you have that connectivity in the relationship from the get-go. And I think that organic way of doing business will result in a better product for sure, right? And if I think about this region, I mean, the region is very well attuned to craftsmanship and extremely high quality. I think that in and of itself isn't enough, right? So we certainly got to bring the experience into it.
Yeah.
So, just speaking of, when you spoke about how this particular project is going to make a change, is going to be very different, how do you see and where do you see luxury developments moving forward in UAE right after Baccarat?
Look, the luxury, is evolving in my opinion. And I think, people are seeking experiences, right? It's not simply about the product. The product obviously plays a part in the overall experience. But I think curating, everything from, how one feels, whether it's in a hotel, and through that, stay that person is having, and whether it's their home that they're living in, I think how those experiences and how those touch points and how that brand's philosophy comes to life, just like Toni was talking about in the happy moments and the sad moments, that brand truly brings its soul to the experience. I think this is what really counts. Products, we have a lot of beautiful products here, but I think the true differentiator is going to be experiences. And that's why we very much value the partnership with Starwood. As an organization, I think we look at our relationships very much like how we look at our capital. It's always very selective, and it's always based on shared values. And I believe Starwood has very similar values to what we have, which is why we can bring those finer points of the experiences to life.
I had a chance to recently learn a lot of the trends in the luxury consumer landscape outside of residential developments, but more in the fashion luxury consumer goods. And their research says 59% of high-end, ultra-net-worthy net worth consumers are shifting spend from products to experiences. That trend has happened for quite a long time, but it is amplifying in recent years across the region and across the globe. So it sort of doubles down on the need for anything on the branded residential project like the Baccarat Hotel and Residences to be really immersive and focus on the experience. And the great thing is, the terrific thing is that, like Sudhin said, you can do it in your residence, you can bring the lifestyle in, and you can also enjoy all the facilities and you have access to the hotel, you can entertain, and so you have the gift of choice of where your luxury leads you.
So you mentioned about immersive experience is a must. Are there any other non-negotiables that Baccarat has to follow, Baccarat Dubai in particular? And also just touching upon the French heritage that we really emphasize with the brand. How are you embedding that in this project?
It has to have the French heritage. I think that is key in the way we deliver the service. I think the service culture of any French luxury brand is always top of mind for any consumer experiencing it. But also the vibrancy in the space. And I talk about immersiveness, that comes to life through the sensory experience in many ways, right? So not just the sparkle from the chandelier, but the fragrance that's in the ambience of the hotel. The music, we obsess over the audio and the music, the sonic identity of the brand to make sure that every space is curated with the right playlists, with the right volume, that it's really an ever-present part of the experience, not just background music. So the sensory element of it is really an important part of brand building. And then you bring it to life with happenings and activations and events. So it really feels like it is a lifestyle, whether it's a hotel in New York, at the Baccarat New York, we have fashion privés. The lobby in the Grand Salon is actually built with a fashion catwalk in the center, always meant to allow you to have a fashion runway right when you have an afternoon tea or when you're enjoying a brunch. So it kind of gives you a flavor of what we should expect here in Dubai at the Baccarat Hotel Residences as well.
Fair enough. Now, tapping into the long-term asset lens, how and what makes Baccarat Dubai more than a launch moment and genuinely having an enduring value?
Yeah, and that's a great question. The thing is, when we are getting into projects, I probably touched upon this a little while ago, but in effect, we start the project with not just the completion in mind, but the sort of long-term value that we deliver to the end consumer, right? And what does that mean? In effect, even from the onset, when we put this together, right, it had to have the right mix of sort of stakeholders to bring this sort of product to life, which includes obviously our partner Starwood Hotels and the Baccarat brand. Apart from that, you have the architecture, the interior design, all of this, which has a lot of detail and planning that we play a great part in. And then, of course, through the development, we ensure that we are continuing to deliver that promise that we set out to do right at the beginning. But it's not just that launch and delivery of something like this, but it's also how we ensure that that value remains for years to come, especially for somebody who's buying a home in a development like Baccarat Residences Dubai. They are buying into that sort of craftsmanship, that brand philosophy, the product, right, the experiences that they will get from something like this, and that's not temporary. That's for a very, very long period of time. And that's kind of something that we also focus on right from the beginning. So our part stays for a long time, and that's why we look at things with a very much a long-term lens when it comes to assets like this or any other assets that Shamal Holding is developing.
Interesting. Toni, now when we talk about experiential hospitality principles and that are shaping residential units, there are so many brands right now from the hospitality space, getting into real estate, getting into residential developments. How do people show up? And this is your personal opinion that I'm, asking. How are these things getting shaped into a day-to-day living? And how you think Baccarat Residences is going to be a right example?
From my perspective, it starts with the team that bring Baccarat to life beyond the product as well, right? Now, you talk about long-term value. Of course, the Baccarat product, the crystal chandelier, or anything that will be in the residence, in and of itself has long-term value because they're meant to be passed on from generation to generation. And when you go to an old maison somewhere in the countryside of France and you see a Baccarat chandelier there, it's probably been there for many, many generations. And that's the idea of a branded residence for us. It's not just, okay, you buy it and sell it and it's a transaction for you, but we want it to sustain, right? And I think that's a unique part for the philosophy behind Baccarat. But the thinking of the Baccarat brand across the board, you're part of an ecosystem, right? You're part of a lot of different facets of the brand. And what sums it all up, that life does taste better with Baccarat in mind. Not just literal because you're drinking out of a wonderful Baccarat glass, but because of what it creates in the surroundings, makes it quite unique and quite special. But I started the answer with the teams that bring it to life. And so this very thoughtful service philosophy, this anticipating needs, and you actually being part of the maison as a resident, and people just seamlessly creating magical experiences. That's the philosophy that is really important for us. Now, in many ways, other luxury brands could say the same thing. But I guess our touch is around how we train, how we service, and how we hire the right team members to really ensure that they know how to bring that sort of true ultra personalization to life for our guests. So the proof is, of course, in the making, and so I invite everyone to come join us in New York at our first Baccarat New York and see it for themselves. Of course, touring the factory in France is also a great option to experience.
Interesting. Now, touching upon the construction phase, yeah, how in particular this project has raised expectations out of the contractors, consultants? It could be in anything: delivery, standard, quality. So how are these, which is the primary or the backbone of the construction industry, bringing these projects to life, has taken a blow, or were blown away with completely different expectations?
Yeah, so the city we live in, we have magnificent projects in general, and I think we're very lucky that we're surrounded by infrastructure like that, especially for the development of something as remarkable as the Baccarat Hotel and Residences. But I think where this product is truly special is the amount of detail that both Starwood Hotels as well as Shamal are getting into. So we're refining the product with the experience in mind, right? So curating that is simply not putting blocks together. It's about thinking how this will impact the overall experience, be it in the materials that is being chosen, whether it's in relation to the way the layouts are done. So there's a lot of that detail, and for that it requires really great partners to work with, which I think we've put together, right? That's both, again, going back to the architecture, the interior design, the execution, the delivery of this. And we are fortunate that we're in a city where this is something that is natural and common. So I think it's just coming together really well, which is why through this process, we've had a really good journey so far. And I only see this continuing this way. And eventually, that sort of emphasis and that detail-oriented approach from all of us is what's going to make this truly special. So for the industry, I believe this would be an experience where this sort of finer detail and bringing back that authenticity of that 260 years of craftsmanship which has translated to a hospitality experience and now into a residential experience. That coming together, I think that's probably something unique in the years to come.
Looking forward to see that. Honestly, I'm in
Absolutely.
that space. I'm going to
Well,
keep my eyes and
you'll
ears.
be there.
100%. Tony, what would be the industry takeaway when it comes to lifestyle living, asset creation in Dubai right after this project?
Do you mean what comes next?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are certainly very keen. We'll see if this goes well. Would you like to do another project with us? Right? Is the question. But as a company, we are certainly keen to continue to look for opportunities within the Dubai market, within the region. This is across all of our brands an important region. We have Baccarat, we have One Hotels as a formidable brand, which is really focused on nature and sustainability. It's not even a brand, it's more of a cause, it's a mission to show that luxury and sustainability can actually live in harmony with each other, which is not always very common. And then we have another brand where we don't have residences yet, but Treehouse, which is a little bit more playful and carefree, if you will, as a brand. So nothing confirmed quite yet, but we are very keen to continue the development and growth within the Dubai market for sure.
Looking forward to it again. Last question, future, luxury, living. If I give you these three words, make me a sentence that is going to be, from your point of view, Shamal's statement, and from you, which is going to be a Starwood statement.
Yeah, for me, luxury living, right, in branded residences, it always comes down to the experiential part of it, right? It's probably not a bit more than a sentence, but again, I think it's more than the product. It's always about how a person feels in that space, right? So that can only come from really, truly memorable and remarkable experiences. And I think that will be the future of luxury.
Great. Tony?
I would say the future of luxury living, if I say that, is personal. It is about making an individual connection with that brand because it personally says something about who you are, who you aspire to be. It has to start with who the aspirational, the ideal consumer or resident in this case would be, and for us building an experience just tailored towards that individual. So I think future of luxury is just how I started. It is immersive and it is emotional. This is not about making a rational decision necessarily always to buy something. It is a more emotional one because you feel connected to it. And I think that is the future where this space is headed and needs to be headed.
Well, I'm going to say good luck to both of you. Looking forward to see this collaboration come to life. Maybe something in the near future. My eyes and ears are open, but thank you so much for joining me, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Rupa.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.